Alright guys, 2002 Dodge Dakota bodylift, 3-inch lift, PA accessories. So first thing I did, disconnect the batteries. Actually, I had those connected while I loosened the steering shaft down in there. See it? I got it from underneath. Then just turn the wheel so that the bolts would face backwards underneath, and then you could zip them out. I used an impact gun. There's one on the top, one on the bottom. And on my model, 2 bolts here, 2 bolts here for the front bumper, 2 wires, one on each side for the fog lamps, and then the whole bumper came right off. Before that, I took just this lower shroud piece out. It's just held in by some Christmas tree clips here. They just pop out. Just use a pry bar, pop them out, get that off first. Then you can take the bumper off. Once I had the steering shaft off, or once I had the lower steering bolt out and the top one loose, like the instructions say, then I disconnected the batteries and pulled the airbag fuses. Not that I really think I had to on my model, because I don't have to deal with anything inside, no shifter linkage, no I don't have to do anything inside on this model because it's an automatic with an electronic transfer case. So but I did it anyway. So the other thing, next thing, on the back you gotta take out, there's a hole right here. Your license plate will be right here. Then you stick your rod through that comes with your jack kit, and you can basically, you should know how to lower your spare tire anyway, but once you get your spare tire down, there's a rod that everyone talks about taking out. It goes right through here. It's connected right there. Comes right through this hole, and then basically there's a cotter pin that holds it in. So right here, there's the rod that was in there. Once you take the cotter pin out, it just slides off, and then that's out of the way. The next thing, there's 2 electrical connections that'll go up behind the bumper to your license plate lights. Pop those out, and then after that, the next thing is, there's your spring mount. Right next to that, there's 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3. You don't have to, yeah, you take all 3 out. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 bolts. I was able to actually just crank the nuts from this side. I didn't even have to hold the bolts from the other side, because they're all attached to a bracket. So basically you just crank on the nuts. Bracket keeps the bolts straight, and then on the one bolt on the top, it has this like piece of metal basically that stops it from spinning. See, it's welded right to it. So you don't have to worry about holding the nut on the other side. I just got a big, very long breaker bar and cranked all the bolts off, or the nuts off, and then you just pop those out, and your bumper's just going to want to fall as soon as you get those 6 off. So I just held my knee kind of right here under the bumper, undid each side, and then pulled it off, and then that's out of the way. So the only thing left is to do all the bumper mounts, or the body mounts. This going under the driver's seat right now. So this is how I access it. You can see my transfer case. You know, there's front wheel, and right behind the front wheel, and you can see right up in there, there's the lower steering shaft. You see the hole right where my tip of my finger is. That's where the bolt goes, the lower bolt, and then up there the upper bolt is loose. That's what they say to do. To get them loose, I just basically, when I still had the batteries connected, I did this first before I did anything else. It came under, turned the steering wheel so that top bolt was facing down at me, and well, it was facing up basically so I could get on it, and I zipped that loose. I went back up into the cab, turned the wheel so that that lower bolt, you can see how the hole is facing me perfect. So I was able to then get my gun on that one, zip that off, right out completely. I just put this shaft in a month ago, so it shouldn't come out too bad, but there's a groove right in that steering shaft that you may have to pry open a bit to get it loose. So the other thing that I did too was, there's still in the same spot right there is the brake line junction, and there's 2 bolts that hold that in. The inner bolt I was able to get out from underneath here. You'll see an inner bolt. I can't hold the camera and do everything here, but there's an inner bolt on that right side bracket, right kind of where that hole is in the bracket. There's a nut in front of that near the frame. It just screws right into the frame, and then the back bolt you can get from outside from the tire. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now. And that's where the fuses are. You'll see the yellow ones for the airbag. You pull those after you've left the battery disconnected for a bit. So that's where I'm at right now. You know, there's the bumper sitting over there. So you'll see that bumper, all those things come off. Perfect. So this is pretty much ready to I still have to cut the lower radiator shroud and do the gas neck, like the fill tube.